Okay.
Can someone send a private message to Eric? There he is back. Okay.
Do we know how many people there are in the audience?
At this moment, 27 in the waiting room. 28.
Okay.
Eric, can you switch on your mic and your camera? Can you hear me? And please use the presenter chat to chat in between you.
Oh, going live in 5 seconds. 3. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session. Very happy to see such a big audience here. How to reach the stars. It's quite an enigmatic title, you have to admit, but let us explore it step by step. Many of us want to reach the stars and make our dreams come true. Neil Armstrong has realized his dreams and stepped on the moon. We know that, Apollo 11. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry had his own dreams, and they were revealed by a fascinating little prince. Even myself, I have my dreams, and I sing about them in lullabies every day to my son, how to reach the stars. So irrespectively from the place, where we are, whatever we do, companies that are small or big, here and there, we have all our dreams, our objectives that we want to realize. We want to reach the stars. Today we have brought to you wonderful speakers who either have reached their stars or the ones who helped or still helping others reach the stars. Let me go in alphabetical order. Jean-David, Magda, Kinga, Raicho, Phile, and Eric Olivier. We have all different roles in this picture, representing European, private, or public sectors. Let's start with the brain and spine of the European Innovation Council, our director, Jean-David Malo, who will bring us closer to the Earth. He will set the scene and get us closer to the discussion of today. Jean-David?
Thank you, Greg, and good afternoon to everybody. Yes, thank you for joining us to this session. So I'm Jean-David Malo. I'm the director of the European Innovation Council Task Force, which is prefiguring, in fact, the future EIC in the context of the next framework program for research and innovation, Horizon Europe. It was of utmost importance for us to have this session dedicated to what we are calling in our jargon, widening countries. In one other session to which I was participating this morning, where we were discussing something else, which was the EIC forum, we have insisted on one dimension which is absolutely key if we want to stimulate and obtain the best of the innovation ecosystem in Europe. It's diversity. So everybody has in mind, when you talk about diversity, of course, the question of gender equity. This is an absolute objective for sure. But another one is clearly the geographical diversity that exists in Europe. And there you can see that we have an enormous potential that exists in what we are calling widening countries, and which is not necessarily tapped at the extent it should be. We want, in the context of the European Innovation Council, to do more towards this. If we look at what we have been able to achieve recently, for example, in the context of the Green Deal call, in the context of our new accelerator scheme, we have been able to attract some of the best innovators that exist in the widening countries. And this was translated also into the result, because 14% of the selected startup and SMEs are coming from these widening countries, demonstrating that you have also in these countries a lot of potential and a lot of solutions in order to tackle a number of challenges that we are all facing in Europe. You know, I want to make clear that it is not a question to be discussed that diversity is part of the DNA of innovation. If you remove this part, you cannot have a full and complete innovation process. So what we should try to achieve is how to attract, to identify the best innovative ideas that exist all over Europe, including in the widening countries. And this session has clearly the objective to try to investigate, to identify pathway in order to achieve this objective. It's one of the priorities, as you know, of our commissioner, Maria Gabriel. She made it very clear from the very beginning of her mandate. And in the context of the future framework program for research and innovation, and in particular, in the context of the European Innovation Council, this is an objective that we should collectively have. And this is why I'm very happy to have the very distinguished speakers that you have invited for this session. I'm rather sure that they will bring with innovative solution, and we should not be afraid by radical solution. We have tested already a number of things in another dimension that I already mentioned a few seconds ago, which is gender equality. We have obtained already a number of results. Again, in the context of the last accelerator call, in order to stimulate the participation and the support to startup and SMEs that are led by women. But we should have the same kind of action for widening countries. It's true for the EIC, but if you allow me, we should not limit ourselves for the EIC. I mean, we should go even beyond what should be done to stimulate the situation regarding the whole innovation ecosystem in Europe, regarding the place of widening countries. I will not have the opportunity to follow all the debate, but I know that there will be a very detailed debrief of this session. But I would like to wish you all a very fruitful session, and I'm sure that the audience which is participating also to this session will be very eager to listen from all of you. Many thanks.
Jean-David, thank you so much for this encouraging words and giving us, setting the scene of what we are here for, and to discuss about what we're moving forward with our agenda, looking at what are the conditions for SMEs in widening countries, in moderate and modest innovating countries in Europe. What are the challenges and difficulties on their way to develop? Let's have a look at what we can hear from our wonderful speakers. If we could ask first Kinga. Kinga, if you are an SME in a widening country, what kind of support can you count on from a private sector, from your perspective being a venture capital in your region, in your country?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Jean-David, for a great introduction. And thank you for your support, first of all, on the diversity scene. This is really very much appreciated. So before I say anything, I just want to really thank you for that. There is a huge potential in Central and Eastern Europe coming from the fact that we have amazing software developers. We have amazing engineers. We have people with very strong hard skills that can make companies be dragon size, unicorn size, can build very, very large and innovative companies. What we are lacking a little bit is always the access to markets, always the sales and marketing, the mentoring around that, and the access to large corporates. So in a way, the venture capital sector is seen as a way to help with that. First of all, with the mentoring, and secondly, with using their relationships to help their portfolio companies expand globally and build corporate relationships. Because it's really the revenue that we need to count on. We want our companies to take less investor money, but have more revenues coming from their own businesses. So the support that is so much needed is always around not just money, but smart money. And I think that what the EIC is doing now is very much thinking about other ways than just purely financial investment around helping companies. This is even more important in Central and Eastern Europe because the access to talent is much less for many of these issues than it is in Western Europe. So I'm very happy to say that under the EIC Advisory Board, we have been working very much on corporate relationships. We have been working on mentoring, on what we call the business acceleration services, and all the different needs that can be met with the help of the Brussels ecosystem, where really it's the center of innovation, it's the center of moving things forward, and with the involvement and the engagement of all the parties that really want this to succeed, I think that the EIC is going to be even better from January 1st, although it's doing an amazing job right now.
Kinga, thank you so much for letting us know what are the conditions in your region and what is needed, what kind of support is required for companies to move on, seeing all the challenges. Magda, looking at the European perspective, we all know that you are working on, and you present the Seal of Excellence theme, quality stamp. What is the role of the Seal of Excellence in facilitating companies in the journey to reach the stars? Let's stay with reach the stars. And what kind of national or any other support financing opportunities can be expected in the context of the Seal of Excellence?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Greg. Yes, indeed. As you can see from here, yes, we are following the Seal of Excellence, and we do that actually from the start. And it has been a pleasure for me to see the whole progress of this initiative. What was the purpose when we first started, and this was in 2015, was exactly to help reaching the stars. So for those that were almost there, but for simply a problem of lack of budget in the call of Horizon, were not able to reach the star, to get the funding from Horizon, we thought exactly that their effort that they had put in writing the proposal, the effort that our evaluators have been putting in evaluating the proposals, couldn't get lost, exactly because exactly this is important material, this willingness to succeed in the program and to come up with proposals with innovative ideas. So all these innovative ideas were indeed excellence, and it was important that there was a recognition for that. So we, in fact, made it concrete, something that was already in the declaration of Horizon 2020, that these proposals are indeed excellent. So what we did is to certify in a way their excellence concretely with a certificate that was containing in it all the information that would have been extremely useful for other funding sources to know in order to eventually exploit this selection already done of these excellent proposals. So this certificate, in fact, includes all the information on the type of project, the fact that has been already selected with the criteria that are transparent, well known, that they have been by an international panel. So provides all the information that are useful for a company to promote the excellent proposals. And we started using it, in fact, to raise awareness of the importance of these projects. And the first thing that, in fact, we were confronted, and it's interesting as well to hear what were the problems that were encountered, is that there was not always a recognition. What is this seal of excellence? So we did it in the context of promoting synergy with the structural funds, and we thought, especially for SMEs, that this would have been project useful as well for the managing authorities of the regions to invest in these innovative companies for their economic and social development of the territory. But the first thing we were confronted was a lack of awareness. What is this seal of excellence? What is Horizon? What are these projects? What have been doing? How they've been evaluated? So this was for us a way to start communicating for those people that were supposed to do synergies to say what Horizon is, how it works, and the two words, in fact, needs to talk, the one of the cohesion policy and the one of the research program. So this was the first problem we had to say, okay, these are not leftovers of the program. These are excellent proposals because the rejected ones are not taken into account. So the proposals with the seal of excellence are excellent proposals because they passed all the high-level quality thresholds that are set by the program. So this was the first thing. The second one, once we started having managing authorities interested in funding these proposals. So the second thing is how do I get the information? And this was exactly what we have done, is now to start disseminating as much as possible the information on how many proposals are in a certain regions or a certain country, how much money of the seal of excellence will be normally mobilized. So this there was an information gap that we have been trying, in fact, to overcome, and we have also been able to pass these messages and this information through a community of practice of managing authorities and any other funding bodies that is interested in funding a possibly proposal, including venture capitalists. Kinga was talking about that as well. So this is really something that we have been doing to promote and to facilitate. So also this idea of the information flow, we are addressing it. The other element, and I conclude that is there and it's problematic, is the rules. So if I intervene with the structural funds, I'm subject to state aid rules. So my company will have to undergo through a lot of other administrative steps in order for comply with all the requirements for mobilizing structural funds. So here was a difficulty. As I told you, the first two, the information flow, the change of mentality, I think we have been really being able to, as much as possible, to overcome them. There was there was the issue of the regulations that was still not possible to address because the regulations were already in place since 2015, so 14. So now 2020 is really the chance to make a change and to simplify the process in a way that also seal of excellence can be funded easily for those regional authorities, national authorities that wants to mobilize funds for that. And you have to wait later to understand what we are doing in this respect.
Thank you, Magda, so much. Let's have a look at it's Bulgarian company, who is one of our success stories. And here, Raicho, I'd like to ask you a very quick question. Can I say that you have reached already your star, that this is what you have managed and achieved? And tell us very quickly your journey to the stars and what were the difficulties?
Hi everyone, my name is Raicho. I'm a CEO and founder of Endurosat. And in a nutshell, we are building satellites and spacecraft technologies. We are from Bulgaria, and we were fortunate enough to win SME Phase 2 instrument And this instrument really changed the life of the company 3 years ago. When we won it, we were 10 people and barely getting the company off the ground. When the project successfully finished, and we designed our newest satellite communication technologies based on the program, and we managed to commercialize these things, which was for me the proudest moment. Not the fact that we won the grant, but the fact that we managed to commercialize it afterwards and to really bring it to the global market. And today the company is growing fast. And I would say we haven't reached where I would like us to be, but we are getting there every time, step by step.
Thank you very much. Did you want to show your slide and give us a glimpse of what your company does so we can have a better understanding how successful you are? Be proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, so the company was founded 5 years ago in Bulgaria. At that time, there was absolutely no funding available for space startups in our country. I usually joked that being a space entrepreneur in our region is like being a baby again. You wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and you cry, basically. But on the other side, I absolutely agree with Kinga, because in our region as well, we had a huge amount of amazing engineers, amazing technologists, people who are passionate about technologies, the final frontier. And this is what helped us gather the first team. Today, the company is 55 people. I'm really proud to say that we are sustainable ever since we went on the market, and even prouder that today we serve more than 100 global space players on the entire globe. Very briefly about the vision behind what we do. As I said, we are building satellites, but we don't build them as a self-purpose. For us, the technology is just the way to bring innovation at the final frontier. Our biggest dream and our thesis is that if more people get access to space easy, then a lot of people would benefit from this access and improve life on the planet Earth. And we underwent this idea of creating satellites that could really bring exciting experiments, technologies, and moreover, commercial players in space. And it's a very simple idea. The fact is that we managed to create an entire satellite design completely in-house. We draw down the cost of the satellite exponentially down. We completely erased the satellite value chain complexity for the final customers, for those who want to be in space. And in a nutshell, the service looks like this. Today, you can literally book a slot on one of our satellites, and we get your experiment, your commercial camera, your IoT experiment in space at a fraction of the cost, and you directly receive your data in the cloud, and through the cloud you can command and control your stuff in space. And I think this is really exciting, and we really hope that we can bring through this service Europe at the forefront of space commercial market. And we are doing that for the last 5 years, and hopefully for the next 5 years. So that's it from my side.
Raicho, you are our pride, and we are very happy that we have you here as one of our beneficiaries from the EIC community who managed to go that high. I understand your star has not been reached yet because you have higher, your standards are much higher, you want to go further, but we're happy that we managed to help you until now. Let's, even though despite the challenges, let's move now to Sile. We have this, Sile was on and off, and despite the difficulties, IT difficulties, she managed to come back to us. Welcome back, Sile. Your perspective,
Hi.
you can very well explain to us what is the support from public sector that SMEs can count on in your country and in your region.
Hi, can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you for being patient and seeing me switch on and off. I think there is still room for even software innovation. So guys, listen, this is your opportunity. But coming back to the topic, I think early stage funding for innovative SMEs tends to be local. So it is critical to ensure that there is capital available for these companies in the very beginning. And however, countries that we talk about here, these widening countries, lack local accumulated wealth and investment capital. It's either institutional, corporate, or high net worth individuals we lack in this region. And therefore, state funding and EU measures have a critical role in providing funding and acceleration support in the widening countries. In the Baltics, NPIs like Gredex, where we are from, Altum and Invega all run venture capital programs to invest together with private investors via venture capital funds and accelerators into innovative SMEs. And this creates not only capital supply, but also provides network, valuable mentor pool, intros to international investors, also sector-focused investors, helps to enter into target markets, paves the way to target customers. So there's a lot of value add on top of the funding. And many of these venture capital programs are also financed from structural funds. There is continuously widening range of investment products, and also additional new investors coming to the arena to address specific market and funding gaps, either in different growth stages of the companies or different sectors.
Thank you, Sile. I think it was very enriching to see where we are, where the actually companies, SMEs in widening countries are in terms of public sector support, private sector support, European support, and what kind of challenges they face. I'd like to go to the positive side of our discussion, and let's look forward. Let's see what are the possibilities for SMEs in this part of Europe, possibilities of growing, of developing, using the smart money, as Kinga said. Let's move on with the private sector approach. What is the Kinga, EIC bridges the financing gap in the EU and widening countries. Looking from your perspective of a VC from Poland, does it make any impact? How do you see the future with the EIC, with the funding provided by us?
Thanks for that question. I think that with the very impressive engineering skills, very R&D heavy projects that we have, very IP heavy projects that we have in Central Europe, these kind of projects often do very well when they are well financed, so that they can slowly develop their R&D efforts to provide very disruptive and very innovative solutions. So EIC then provides matching funding to the local venture capital and angel investor ecosystem, allowing for those companies to fundraise amounts that actually meet their funding requirements. Because until now, the amount of capital available across Central and Eastern Europe is really very small. It's really seed capital and not the capital that is necessary for building more of the R&D efforts, more of the IP. And with the EIC being able to go to a maximum level of 17.5 million euros, 2.5 million is grant money and 15 million is equity money, that is really a huge amount of capital, allowing those companies from the region that have no access to such big funding rounds, being able to build out their R&D better, being able to set up their sales skills and their commercialization and go forward to the next level. So this is one thing that is super important. The second thing that is super important is, as we said, everything around smart money and the business acceleration skills and systems that can be built around that. And these are the two roles that I see very firmly for the EIC.
Okay. Kinga, thank you so much. Wonderful. We can see clearly how EIC is accompanying companies and what kind of role in terms of capital existence capital provision in Modest Innovator can play, what kind of role it can play. Sile, from your perspective, what kind of, in the future, in the nearest future, what are the possible support avenues for SMEs, novel measures from national public sector that are discussed in your region, in your country, to support SMEs, innovative SMEs?
I think all the ecosystems are built on strengths, and our strength definitely is software here, because we have experience in it. The product to market time is short, development costs are lower, and also the technological risk is lower. So we are trying to move to areas that need patient capital, basically, longer product to market periods, higher development costs, and also higher risks. And that's where breakthrough innovation is happening, deep tech companies. So in this region, we are all trying to find the best instrument to actually activate the market in the deep tech area, commercialization area, maybe even touch technology transfer, see what the university, how much they want to come along, and provide capital for that. For example, in Estonia, we're about to launch a call for a deep tech fund manager in coming months to tackle these specific funding gaps and go where the private money is not going maybe first, because we already see that there is a lot of interest from investors towards software companies. So now we want to make a first step towards deep tech companies and expect private investors to follow. Hi, Kinga.
Very promising. Thank you very much. Raicho, as you heard, EIC is developing and moving to a new phase. There will be fully fledged EIC, will be providing equity in as of well, we have already started providing blended finance. As of next year, equity only. There's a new package of offer. How do you see yourself, as you have a very strong family funded company? How do you see the future? Are you ready to dilute your assets? Are you ready to go for the EIC support? How do you see yourself and a company in this context?
Yeah, just to make a quick correction, we are not a family funded company. Actually, we got funding from few space angels and few business angels in Bulgaria, and those were already successful entrepreneurs into the software businesses. They grew their companies as a global leaders in the different fields. For us, the only way to exist as a company at the very early stage, and I see also a very good question here in the comments, is that it's extremely difficult to build a deep tech or space company. It requires time. Sometimes the fact that we never had easy access to greater financing motivated us that we either should exist by creating at least small value and go to the market very fast with a few simple systems to prove traction, or we die. So we did the first one, which was to go to the market. And I think this also made us quite more resilient. For the last 5 years, it was a huge amount of efforts, and still we continue to develop our technology, and we are still not where we want to be. And I think the new instruments for Horizon pilot programs, the blended financing programs, the potential equity programs, this for a company like us could mean literally enormous impact. I give you the example. Sadly, a huge statistics in our sector is that a huge amount of European space innovators are being financed more and more by US and Asian funds, which is not that bad, by the way. But from a strategic point of view, it will be incredibly important, I believe, for Europe to retain the assets of a deep tech companies trying to innovate at the final frontiers in biotechnology, in aerospace, in medicine. And the only way to do that is to have access to financing. So I absolutely am looking forward with optimism that this time the financing on these new models would potentially impact also the widening countries, part of which is Bulgaria as well.
Thank you very much, Raicho. Magda, you have started already speaking about the next steps. There's also about what is awaiting the SMEs in widening countries as new solutions, and facilitated how you negotiated the new state aid rules. If we could combine it with a question from the audience, there is a question to you. Are there specific initiatives for SME holders? What are those? Have you seen this question, right? If you're
yes, sir.
If you could combine your the two in your question, answer would be wonderful.
Yes. Okay, no problem. Actually, we'll start indeed with this one, with the question, because indeed, thanks to the effort we started in 2015, even with all the difficulties, there were member states and regions that decided to support the Seal of Excellence. So we have at the moment, in the course of this year, there were 31 schemes specifically addressing Seal of Excellence in different countries, including widening countries. I counted, I think, around 9 widening countries that have had a scheme to support the Seal of Excellence. Of course, you have to consider that in doing that, this is a voluntary choice. So that's why it was important to inform and to show what is the value of the Seal of Excellence. And for those that understood that there was a value, they started setting up schemes. But of course, it was up to them whether this was simply to add some extra point in the existing evaluation of existing funding schemes when the Seal of Excellence was shown, was brought to their attention. So it was increasing their possibility to get funded, or whether to launch calls only on Seal of Excellence, and whether this was for phase 1 or for phase 2. So we have a different typology of schemes, but they exist. And for instance, there are cases in which structural funds have been mobilized in order by using the existing funding streams to accelerate the funding of these proposals, or exactly only for Seal of Excellence. So calls are specifically dedicated to Seal of Excellence. What happened is that at the moment of funding and mobilizing the funding, the managing authorities came back to us and they said, look, we want you to give immediately the same funding rates that the SMEs were expecting from Horizon, but this is not possible to do it automatically, because since we mobilize structural funds and they're considered national funds, because we have a discretion in mobilizing them, we have a problem of having to comply with all the state aid rules and all the articles, and checking if it, of course, it's an SME, but also to recheck the proposal and see if it's international partners, and these adds up different thresholds up to which we can be funded. But of course, it is again a re-evaluation, and we wanted to avoid that. So we went back after this remarks to our colleagues in DG Competition, and we told them, look, there is a special category of projects that of course will be funded by structural funds, but they have been pre-selected, let's say, from the Commission through a transparent process. So in this case, the structural funds authorities will not have we will fund those that we have been pre-selected, and as such there is a category, special category, and we would like that they are treated as Horizon proposals in terms of the type of funding rates and the eligible cost that can be applied for these companies when using structural funds or national funds. And this, there were a lot of discussions and bringing evidence, and this was very helpful to have all the feedback by the SMEs that were with the Seal of Excellence, by the managing authorities, and this community of practice was very useful in order to bring back what were the problems and to highlight them, and what was the evidence of that, and how to propose a solution. So it's very interesting, because in 2015, we didn't have any mention of the Seal of Excellence in the regulation. Not Horizon, not cohesion policies, no state aid. We have a special chance, unique chance, to have this changed now. Now we are under negotiation of Horizon Europe, the new cohesion funding, and the revised general block exemption regulation for state aid. And I'm very pleased because we are at the last phases of negotiation for the Council. Of course, trilogues will start now, but already in the Commission proposals of all the programs, especially Horizon Europe, but also the cohesion funds, the seal of excellence was mentioned, was defined, and now we are at the moment, if what we are negotiating will be finally adopted, there is a possibility when structural funds come in place to fund the seal of excellence, is that there is no re-evaluation, technical re-evaluation, and that we can use automatically, funding authorities can use automatically the funding rates of maximum funding rates of Horizon, namely 70% for the EIC, and the same eligible costs. So it seems a small thing, but I think it's a very important change of approach, and is something that I hope will help also those managing authorities that until now said we cannot do it because it's too difficult, it's too complicated, there is no legal certainty how we can mobilize this money, to finally do it. Of course, it's voluntary, but I think the experience has shown that this is indeed something that is useful for all parties involved. So this is in terms of, so to answer the questions, yes, there are specific initiatives there already, and in the future, hopefully more, following the simplification that we are hopefully being able to put in place with the new regulations. Of course, just to conclude, we are speaking about venture capitalists, and so we are not focusing only on structural funds. We are also promoting the seal of excellence to platform of venture capitalists, the EIPP platform. We are helping seal of excellence to do e-pitching. So we, of course, try to diversify the channels of funding for this seal of excellence. And with that one, I think I answered the question and gave you also some information for the future programming. Thank you.
Kinga, from my side, could you give us a little bit more details about the new program and this shared equity opportunities that startups also in our regions could benefit starting from 2021?
Yes, of course. So under the EIC Accelerator, we have been running, it's actually since autumn of last year, a number of calls where you are able to apply for blended finance. So the moment you apply, you say you want whatever amount of the grant money, but you also extend your business plan to show the amount of either equity or possibly convertible debt that will convert with the next round into equity that you need from the EIC. And as I said, these amounts can go right up to 7 million euros. That's the maximum, with 2.5 coming in as the grant and 15 million euro coming in as equity. What is super important in these applications is that these companies need to show interest of other players in the market, because we want to be a market catalyst. We understand that sometimes there is not enough interest at this point, but what we would like to see as the EIC is at least future interest of market players, different market players in different ways of the products and solutions that are being developed. The ideal scenario is co-financing, so co-investment by the EIC with another venture fund, with another corporate venture fund, with another angel investor, or whatever financing party. That is the ideal scenario. Sometimes it's not possible because the company needs to meet certain milestones to get to that level. But we would like to see that we are catalyzing the market and we are providing more to the companies that really need it, rather than the last thing we want to do is crowd out any market players. So we want to be with them. We want to support them, but not crowd anyone out. And the last call is, I think, the 7th of October for this year, for the Horizon 2020. So there's not much time left. It's just 2 weeks. That will be the last call for this year. And then we are starting the new program. That's the end of the pilot. We will be starting the new one in January. All the details are still being finalized, but the principles will remain that you are able as a founder to apply for the blended finance for the grant, for the equity part. So I think this is the most interesting from the perspective of Central Europe, because the amounts are really significant. And the support you can get is in tranches. You don't need to take all of the money right away. So there are various structures that are also available, and this is for discussion with the EIC. So what is important is that the EIC investment committee is very much open to hearing different structures, to understanding the needs of the startup and really meeting that. But I think the amounts are so significant that it's very, very important that we see companies from Central and Eastern Europe, especially those doing deep tech, coming and applying for these programs.
I truly apologize. There was a big hiccup on my side. I'm very sorry. Kinga, thank you very much for saving and explaining us all these details about the calls in Poland, but also from the EIC, but Polish perspective as well, from the widening countries. I think at this point we have already very good understanding where we are in terms of what kind of conditions and environment function SMEs in the widening countries, moderates and innovators in Europe. What are the challenges, and also what are the prospects for these companies? How to grow, how to scale up, and how to overcome these challenges, and what are the available funding prospects, not only from private sector, from EIC, public sector, but also from the European perspective, where the Seal of Excellence plays an important role. I'd like to check, before we go to the final stage, I was wondering if you could have a look at if there are any questions from the audience now. As far as I can see, is there any outstanding question that we haven't covered until now? Or I think we are all done. Going to the closing part of our session, having such wonderful speakers around the table, SMEs who are listening to us, we would like from four of you, to hear what would be your punchline, what would be your golden advice, how to go ahead, despite all the conditions that are not always favorable in your region. But however, there are so many pros, talents, availability of public funds that is quite important. What would be your golden punchline, your golden advice? Who is the first who wants to start?
Greg, we're all shy. We're all shy, Greg.
Who wants to start? Who is the most outgoing?
I can start with. Okay, you go, Kinga. Go,
Rachel. Go.
First, just another comment on. Thank you a lot, Kinga, for presenting us to the new instruments that are coming, and I'm truly enthusiastic. Just a last comment on that, because I think it's important, for example, in our region to find the financing of 10+ million euro for a deep tech company is literally impossible task today. So I really hope, and I'm looking forward for this new program, because this will be literally a paradigm positive change for us and the region. In terms of my last message to everyone, is I really hope that for all SMEs and all entrepreneurs that are hopefully linked into this conversation, is please to focus on bringing value through your product and service, and don't focus so much on granting, because grants are incredible value, but only when you have a real vision and you are absolutely certain that you are bringing at the end value on the market. And I truly hope to see a lot of incredible value brought on the market in the coming years, based on European financed champions that are going globally and are more bolder in their visions. Thank you.
Rachel, thank you. Very encouraging. Who's next? Kinga, I think you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I think, we are still quite a fragmented market in Central and Eastern Europe, and we need to think really big, really global from day one, which means we need to build a lot of networks, we need to build the relationships, we need to get the feedback. It's not easy in our region because interacting with much larger players, with corporates, with experienced players is not easy. They are not open to hearing out startups. They are not open to testing things. We are quite behind Silicon Valley in that respect. So, and other very, very advanced places. So what we really need to do is use every opportunity to speak to our customers, understand their needs, try and tailor ourselves to the first sales, and think globally, get the feedback, because that's what really makes it. It's not the grant money, it's not the investor money. You need that on top, but it's really understanding what your customers need, really being close to them, and making a huge effort of that, unfortunately, because it's harder where we are coming from than anywhere else. Over.
Thank you, Kinga. How about Magda and Sile? What would be your golden advice?
You want to go first?
Yeah, it's okay. As you want. You go.
Okay. I think my message is to all the innovators and innovative SMEs who are considering whether to bootstrap and start the journey alone or see how it goes on the way. My advice is start pitching. Pitching is not just for the elevators and stages. Pitching and introducing your idea should be your normal, because you never know who is the next valuable contact who can introduce you to global investors, who can open the door to your customers, make contacts, start fundraising, because it's worth it. So you either start fundraising or die trying, I would say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sile. Magda, from the European perspective, the highest umbrella, what is your advice from your perspective to SMEs from widening, moderate, innovating countries?
So as you say, exactly from our point of view, we can help, and what we did is to certify and to try to increase the visibility, first of all, of the excellence of these proposals that deserve funding, and then to, of course, trying to convince the other funders and of the value of these proposals, and to simplify the rules that are there and they have to use in order to fund them. But the Seal of Excellence is one small thing, is a step, is a support, but it's like when you have a diploma, then you have to look yourself for the job, and the same is for the Seal of Excellence. So the expectations have to be managed, but at the same time, you have also to think creatively. So I fully share everything that has been said by my colleagues. Of course, you have to, more than anybody else, the business, your customers, etc. But when you need the support as well from the financial point of view, first of all, do not expect that everybody knows that with this Seal of Excellence, you are excellent. Show it, explain what it is, more than what is included in this paper, and then be creative. Because it's not only the structural funds, it's not only the venture capitalists, can be a combination of both. And we have tried to put all these people together. So be brave, because we know it's not easy. We are trying to simplify from our side, but we do what we can. So be brave, because we know it's not easy, especially in certain countries, and be creative. So try really to find your way and to also combine different sources and different support, and give us feedback. Tell us where the difficulties are, because we are there as well to listen. And I think with the Seal of Excellence, it was an example of taking into account the comments and trying to change things. So we are there, we try to do our best, but we need as well the support from your side as well.
Wow, thank you very much. Very proactive, very listening to the addressable market approach that you want to listen, and we are happy, of course, as an EU, want to help out and respond to the market. I see there's one more question. Incubators in supporting institutions in widening countries. Who would like to go ahead for these questions? Kinga, would you like to say a few lines about it?
Yeah, I think, when you're starting out, incubators, accelerators, all these vehicles are super good to help founders in the first stages of establishment. And that's really, really great that we have them. However, please bear in mind that especially that it's COVID times, you can get into an incubator or an accelerator anywhere in the world because everything is digital now. So it's a question of what you need and where those needs are. And I would apply to the ones that are really addressing those needs and not fix yourself in the local environment, because what you have in the local environment, you already know it. You don't need that knowledge. You already have it. So try and think outside, think regionally, think globally. There is nothing wrong with applying somewhere else and cross-border. And I think that's where you get the most advantage. The other thing that I would look at is corporate relationships. If you are aiming to get your first proof of concept with corporates, and you need to go there to show, it depends what product you're doing, but if you need that, then incubators, accelerators with those corporate relationships are not a bad idea, because they will allow you to get the first foot in the door.
Wow, thank you very much. I think we have reached a moment where we can say, wow, we know so much. How to reach the stars? We all want our dreams come true. I hope that SMEs that are here around the table, that are listening to us, that they heard what are the conditions around in the widening countries. Especially the second part of our session was the most useful, where we heard all the channels of support that is provided from Sile, from public sector, what she has explored to us, from Kinga, from private sector, from the venture capitalists, from Magda, from the European perspective, very high, and our success story, Raichev, who came as a representative of the community. I see here that we have more recipes, we have more ways to reach our stars, reach our own stars, specifically here in our context, how to let companies grow, how to scale up, how to develop, how to spread the wings. Sorry, these are the wings. How to move on. So thank you very much for all the attention. Thank you so much to Kinga, Magda, Raicho, and Sile for amazing contributions to our chat. I see there are no more questions. I see there's one more question for Magda wants to ask.
No, because I see that we have a few minutes. It's not to ask a question. It's actually to answer on the questions on the supporting institution. Just a quick reminder that there is a widening program as well, because here we are speaking about how we help institutions to help SMEs eventually to spin off or to create spin-off companies, etc. The widening program from Horizon is supporting centers of excellence, but there is also to create centers of excellence and to create networking of centers of excellence, but is also a specific focus on having developed this research management capacity to have research management offices and technology transfer offices. And I think when you have a research institution, an office that is able to advise the researchers to go and do spin-offs and create companies, this is as well an added value and responds a bit to the questions that was asked. So just not to limit our discussion to the SIL, because there is all a widening program that is specifically dedicated to widening countries and tackling the institutions. That's it.
So even more opportunities for widening countries. Thank you so much, Magda. And let's make a close of the session. Thank you so much to the audience. Very happy to have you here. Thank you for wonderful speakers, and farewell to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.